Hello and welcome. Silrace here with Star Citizen, and this is revisited impression video of Aurora LX. One of the ships I did my original impression videos of ages ago when this thing firstly became available. And if memory serves, at that time it did not have its engine fitted on the ship at all. And also the pylon mount with the missiles wasn't present either. So that has been a long time ago, and the Aurora has, changed coloring a little bit too. If memory serves, it was more red, I believe. Anyway, let us talk about Aurora LX. Frankly, I don't know how they differentiated the various Auroras into their designated focus of what the ship is focused for. Because Aurora LX is supposed to be an exploration / light mercantile ship, whereas then there is one which is more of a, exploration / starter ship and so on. When they basically all have same cargo capacity and same weapon setup and so forth, I really can't tell from just, technical information what not we have available, what makes them so different that they would have a different focus. Hopefully, maybe that shows itself with, like, for example, how instruments work in the finished product of the game. So weapon-wise, this thing comes with two fixed nose mounts, like right here, right below the cockpit, and that pylon mount on top with some missiles. Let us walk around the ship a little bit, let's talk about the ship. So frankly, it is a ship which comes without wheels. This is something I have said before about the Aurora. This makes me think this ship should not be able to land on planets unless you can fit landing skids with actual, wheels. Because landing on a planet would be kind of harsh without those things. Anyway, especially when you have this kind of a setup for thrusters and stuff, it might not have enough power to truly get off ground vertically as is. That's why I think it needs wheels. I mean, if you look at the, silhouette of the ship from the front or even from the rear, it doesn't really have the fixed wings needed for, aerodynamic maneuvering in atmosphere, such as, for example, our own Earth. So it needs pure thrust power to do its work for it. And that's part of the reason why I don't really believe this should be a ship capable of, planetary landings on planets with high gravity, or at least Earth level of gravity and wind and air pressure. Anyway, let's talk about other things as well. Right, so the look of the Aurora is what really attracted me to the ship the first time anyway, because, I mean, if you look at this looks kind of like a spaceship. To me, spaceships have always been more about because you really don't have to take into consideration wind and air pressure and gravity and these things when you design a spaceship. So you can go kind of wild with the, designs which are like, okay, we can put this actually here. We don't have to worry about it, not being aerodynamic. We can just put it in a random location and just call it a ship. So, that's what attracted me to the Aurora. If you compare this to the Aegis Gladius or the one of the Anvil ships, for example, the Stalker it is called now. Anyway, if you compare it to those things are actually look like sleek fighters instead of what this one looks like. Anyway, so the looks. I mean, I'll say, in my honest opinion, this ship looks good. Alright? I'm just straight up honest with that, because like I said, it looks more like a spaceship than a jet fighter, and that's what attracted me to it. This thruster rear looks kind of nice. I still think like I'm not so sure what happens with the thrusters being, you know, like that. Like it gets smaller when it comes to the end of the engine thrusters. The nozzles are smaller than the rest of the engine, as you can see. It goes inwards in this curved manner. I don't know why. Shouldn't it be flaring out instead of like tilting inwards? That's just how I feel about it. But anyway, design choices. Does it make the thrust more condensed and thus, you know, better overall? Does it give it an increased power? Simply because you make it curve inside and you make it condense the thrust better. I don't know. Maybe it does that. Maybe it does indeed. But still, it looks kind of nice. Kind of nice, yeah. It might just be an aesthetic choice. I mean, we are talking about a video game here, but I still always talk about the real life applications, because that is what it all stems away from, essentially. We know the world as we know it, and that influences what we do in art and everything else in video games and so forth. And also those exhausts for the thrusters, for the engine itself, on the side like this, that looks really good. It's like that should be the cooling exhaust on the side. It really looks like it. So yeah. One thing I believe is badly missing from the Aurora is any kind of signal lights at the edges of these like small wings. Granted, they are very small, but they do extend out of the ship. So there should be like a signal light at the very tip here, which shows that, okay, this is where my wing ends. This is where the ship extends to on this particular side. So please note, anybody who happens to be in this area, that you cannot fly into it. So yeah. Anyway, those lights are missing, and that's a little bit of an annoyance to me, but it might also be my interest in other things which causes that. And another thing I like about the Aurora is that you can get into the cockpit and, well, into the hull itself inside from both sides. That is actually kind of nifty. You can knock heads together with somebody who comes in from the other side the same time as you do from the other. Let's also walk underneath the ship and just take a quick look. So this just looks, you know, this just looks industrial, just looks sleek. Okay, we just put it all together and call it a day. No need to add any frills and fizzles and bells and whistles. I don't know what that is though. I like have no idea what that is supposed to be. If somebody knows what this is supposed to be, please tell me. Is this a tracking device? Because it looks like it might have lights on it, so it might be the landing light, maybe? But I can't really tell. I really can't. It might be the landing light. I just don't know. If somebody does, like I said, please tell me, what is it? I want to know all these things. God damn it. So yeah. And this structure here, which like holds the whole engine and the thruster block together, this is very well done. This really looks like it is a support, alright? It really looks like a support piece. So yeah. Okay, let us get inside the ship. Inside the Aurora LX. And the entrance looks exactly the same from both sides. I'm going to open the other door as well. Why the heck not? Let's just open all doors. And I do like that it has danger sign on the door as well. So we can get into the Aurora here. It has a bed back there, which is very awesome. It's one thing I showcased in my original video of the Aurora LX as well. In fact, it has a bed. it has bed, it has a lot of windows, alright? So you can, because you can see through the doorways, and this cockpit is really open. This is why I call the Aurora LX the date ride. You bring another person with you, whoever you want to take out for a date, you go out there, out for a little bit of a spin in the space with them, and they can have very good look at this space from, you know, all around the ship, while they are hanging around while you fly. And then you have the bed to, like, really continue the date to, you know, full extent, unless they get pissed off at you before. Anyway. The cockpit looks... Wow, okay. Can I... Yes! Yes, they didn't fix that! Fantastic! So I remember this collision bug being there, which I have forgotten. I think I might have forgotten to report that. Anyway, they did not fix that. So you can warp right on top of the ship by colliding to the one of the door frames inside. And this is the only way I have figured to get on top of this ship to really look at it from above. And now there is some paneling on top of the ship to protect the engine, which is very, very nice. But I would personally like a little more protection for the engine. Like, I mean, if you look at that, somebody who gets above you, does a strafing run to the top of your ship, is likely to blow up your entire engine. It's just likely. And also the missile rack being right above the ship like this, it's located in such a way that when those blow up, you probably lose your cockpit. That is kind of scary thought, right? And they are kind of visible from every single freaking angle, unless somebody is just right below you. Makes that kind of a well, feasible target for firing at. So I would be very tempted to not mount missiles on this ship for that particular reason, because if those blow up, my cockpit will probably be separated from the rest of the ship entirely by the explosion. So that might not be a very good thing for the pilot, or anybody who happens to be in this section having a nap in the bed. So yeah, that is kind of awesome. And here we can also take a proper look at this thing. I mean, look at this. This looks like it's really securing the back of the engine and the thrusters. That is fantastic. I really enjoy that. It's very well done. Okay, let's get back into the cockpit. Right. Cool. They haven't fixed that. I need to report it so they fix that collision issue. So yeah. Let us sit into the chair. Let us sit into the chair. Oh, come on. Give me my chair. Give me my chair. And I like this. It's like this makes the Aurora feel like it is a cheaper beginner ship. The chair does not turn. You have to actually squeeze past to get into the chair. That makes it really feel like it is a sort of a cheaper ship. What is up with that texture? That is not good. They need to fix that. Another thing to report. Those textures are bugging out. So if you folks are having a look at this video, please note these couple of bugs here. Anyway, as I was saying, it makes the Aurora feel like it's more of a starter ship. So because, well, the chair doesn't turn. All these little things which have been, you know, the manufacturer have saved costs in, essentially. But anyway, this cockpit to me always felt quite weird because of the amount of support beams in it. So while it is kind of open cockpit, like you should be able to see very well in every direction, even below you, because there is like an opening of glass panes down there as well. For combat wise, this might not be such an awesome thing, because you can completely and utterly lose a ship behind one of these support beams, especially that one in middle there, which is quite massive. So you have to be very adamant of like keeping tracks of enemy ships visually as well, at least visually, in such a way that you do not lose them behind this amount of support beams you have going across your cockpit all the damn time. But other than that, this ship really tickles my fancy. It looks very different from majority of the other ships in the game, simply because it doesn't look like a current era jet fighter plane. It actually looks like some kind of a modern spaceship, which is kind of interesting, and it's also pretty damn cheap ship to buy, although I do not believe Aurora LX specifically is on sale anymore, but you can grab one of the other ones for a quite cheap price. So if you're simply looking to get into the game, Aurora might be your purchase of choice for a cheap access to this particular alpha game. However, remember that the game is in alpha and it is not really a game yet. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this bit, and hopefully it told you something about Aurora and why I like the Aurora and why I own one of these things. Aha! Gotcha! Didn't I? Gotcha! Did you honestly think I wouldn't show any actual flying with the Aurora LX as part of the impression video? I'll be honest though and say that flight with the Aurora, there isn't all that much to talk about for the time being. I mean, well, there have been a couple changes. Firstly though, let's briefly talk about these base guns. As you can see, in their default configuration, the guns are, well, not mounted on turrets and whatnot in such a way. Obviously they are very much stationary, and they will fire to the middle of the crosshair, and obviously not to the crosshair of your mouse pointer, but the one in middle of the cockpit. Anyway, flight with the Aurora itself, it's a fairly nimble ship. It is a small one-man ship after all, aside of the fact that there is a bed at the background and so forth. So it's fairly nimble creature. And speed-wise, as you can see, the LX variant here can at least get up to 195, which is pretty nifty, considering previously its top speed limit was basically 150. So this 195 is obviously much better. So I wouldn't still call this a racing ship from the mobility and the speed point of view, comparing it to some of the actual racers out there like the Mustang Omega and M50 Interceptor, or even 350 or Origin 350R, that being the full name of that particular ship. It is, although let's take a look in the space itself. As you can see, it does look a little odd. I did mention that in the hangar already. It looks a little wonky, and that's what attracted me to the ship, really. So yeah. So like I said, flying wise, it's not spectacular by any means. It is not a fighter ship. It's not really a dog fighter, even though it is quite mobile. But you just simply do not have the armament to truly dogfight an actual dogfighter, an actual fighter ship. So that's the main issue for it. But for general flight, for just, you know, having a look around and for getting a handle to the game, it is definitely a worthy consideration, even from the flight point of view, and if you happen to like a little bit of an odd look. So yeah. And remember to look at those hands when you steer around with the ship, because the animation is really good quality. I mean, if I change that to the in-cockpit view, look at that hand. It looks good, and the head movement to follow where the my mouse pointer would be pointing, really well done. I really enjoy that. I am not so sure I enjoy the idea that there is a, you know, a gap between the suit and the helmet, so your throat is showing off. That might be one of those, like, let's show off a little bit of skin at least in these outfits, but I don't know. Still, animation really nice, cockpit looks good, and all of that jazz. Thank you very much for watching, and this time it is actually thank you very much for watching.